Hey everyone, in this lecture we're going to go over an example of using the ANOVA test. Now remember, the ANOVA test is really useful if you have multiple samples. And in this problem that we're going to be working with, we're going to have a total of 4 samples. And I'm actually going to just simply write them down as L1, L2, L3, and L4. So we have our 4 samples here. And now let me give you context in this problem. We have 4 different classrooms and 4 different teaching methodologies. And I record the test results of a test that I give to each sample. And I want to determine whether or not the teaching methodologies influence the test results. Now, everyone gets the same test. And so with teaching methodology 1, I get these scores: 88, 90, 95, 99, and an 85. On teaching methodology 2, I get a 60, 55, and a 40. On teaching methodology 3, I get a 90, a 50, a 40, a 50, a 40, and a 90. And then with teaching methodology number 4, I get an 80 and a 40. So the question is there variability between these 4 different teaching methods? Does my teaching method change the results significantly? Is there a significant difference because of the teaching methodology? So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to input these lists into our list. And if you remember how to do that, it's you go to stat and then you just hit enter. And now we have our lists. Now if you're only going to see this far, L1 and L1, L2 and L3, but you can actually use the left and right arrows here to scroll to L4. So I'm going to enter this in. L1, we have 88, 90, 95, 99, and 85. L2, we have 60, 55, 40. L3, we have, I need to get rid of some of the L3s here that I have already. 90, 50, 40, 50, 40, 90. And then L4, we have an 80 and a 40. Now, what do? Now we're actually going to go back to the home menu. This is the one where you have that blinking, flashing cursor thing. This is where you typically would do math, like 2 plus 2, and then you hit enter. Wherever you see the cursor, that's where you're going to go. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go back to stat. You're going to go under the tests. And if you scroll down to number, all the way down to, I believe it's the bottom, letter H, literally at the bottom of that menu, you are going to see ANOVA. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on that, and you're going to see ANOVA with an open parentheses. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put your lists there. We're going to want to put L1, L2, L3, L4, and then close the parentheses. The way we do that is we hit second stat, and that allows us to choose which list we want to put there. And we're going to put L1. Then there's typically a little comma button. So we're going to hit comma, and then we're going to do the same thing for L2, L3, L4. And then we're just going to hit enter. It's going to do the test for us. This is going to be an ANOVA test. And I'm getting, as a result, F equals 4.1088486. And this is the important one. P equals 0.032058, and so on. And then the rest of the stuff is pretty much insignificant for conducting this test. What really matters is, in particular, the p-value. And most math classes will ask about the f-value as well. But the f-value is kind of like how we typically record the t-value or the z-value. The f-value, the f-ratio, is frequently used and important. And the higher the f-ratio, the smaller the p-value. Now, this p-value is less than 0.05, which is typically what we choose for alpha, meaning that those 4 lists here, these 4 lists that we created, have a clear distinction between the 4. They're not all the same groups, meaning that my teaching methodology did influence the results. Now, I can't tell you which one influenced it. Maybe they all had different influences. Yeah, I'm sure that's a word. But it could also be the fact that maybe just L2 and L3 were absolutely crazy. It's hard to see where the variability among these four lists are or is. My English today. However, we do know that the teaching methodology does make a difference somewhere. Something was different, and you can likely link it to the teaching methodology. So where do we go from here? Well, now the next trick, obviously there's some variability amongst these lists. Now you might be interested in where that variability is. So you might want to start doing some two-sample t-tests between all the different possibilities here. Well, that just gets really messy. We can match L1 with L2, L1 with L3, L1 with L4, L2 with L3, L2 with L4, or L3 with L4, and we can try to see which tests are significantly different from each, or which teaching methodologies are significantly different from each other, and which ones are not significantly different from each other. And so that's for future statistical tests, but the ANOVA gives us our starting place, and it shows us that teaching methodology certainly affected the results of our tests. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.